Morning.
Yeah. Good morning,
9:30.
JoJo. 9:30, little nip. Joy through.
This is medicinal today.
What is that?
What? Sazerac?
Sazerac.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I
It's
know
a rye
that.
bourbon.
Okay. What is the? Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
My brother's a big bourbon guy. He's done the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky, Buffalo Trace and all that stuff. Blanton's is the big thing, right?
Blanton's is big.
All right, what's the difference between, educate me, a whiskey, a rye, a bourbon, and a scotch?
It's all about preparation and components. So,
Okay.
whiskey and bourbon are very close, but they're comprised of different materials, and they're prepared in a certain way. So it has to be corn that is, put in a barrel for a certain amount of time, and then it becomes a bourbon. So it's just preparation of a spirit so that...
Preparation. Okay.
Yeah.
Same contents?
Yeah,
Kinda,
mostly.
But how it's prepared. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you like one better than the other?
I have tastes all over the place. Some, I don't like many ryes. This is one of the only ryes that I like.
How about rye bread?
I hate rye bread.
Yeah, me too. I don't like
Yeah,
those
I like wheat. Wheat's all right.
Yeah, wheat's good. I don't like the little, what are they, rye seeds in there?
I don't know.
All right, so do you like whiskey or bourbon or rye or scotch straight up, like Paula Abdul? Or is there on
You have
the
to say
raw?
it differently. If you're going to invoke...
Straight
Paula
up. Now tell me, do
Thank
you
you.
really want me?
Thank you.
What, is there a preferred way, the right way, personal choice? How do you like it? Because you're drinking it neat right now.
Yeah.
Right? That's I know my
Exactly.
terminology. I'm not a big
So if
whiskey
it's with
drinker.
dinner, then a couple ice cubes, water it down, sip it over a period of time.
Okay.
But typically, just neat. Just, 2 ounces
We
of
call that 2 fingers,
2 fingers of awesomeness.
right? 2 fingers of
So you
awesome.
can buy bigger glasses. So
So
that
3
two
fingers is literally the amount of the pour, right?
Yes.
So 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 finger, 4
Yeah.
finger.
Give me 9 fingers.
Double this fingers.
Yeah, give me the 5th.
Yeah, I've never been a huge bourbon whiskey guy. I'll drink an old fashioned. Those are kind of nice because it's got that
Perfect.
stuff.
One
in
of my
there.
favorites.
It's got, do you make them at home yourself?
Oh, yeah. I have a whole kit over there if you ever wanted to
What
do old
is okay? Oh, maybe we'll do old fashions one day.
Okay.
During our session.
Yeah, I had my first old fashioned. I was actually down in Kentucky, and there was a bar that usually they have they mix it, they put some additives in there, but they don't do a real old fashioned.
Okay.
I went to Kentucky and they brought out this vacuum globe, right? Looked like a little science apparatus that used to have in chemistry.
Yeah. You got
Anyway,
excited probably immediately. You're like,
They brought this out and they smoked it, and it took every bit of 10 minutes to make one drink. So it's one of those things where if too many people did it, they probably would not be able to price it accordingly because there's so much effort put into making an old fashioned.
And you could taste that smokiness.
Oh, for
I've had
sure.
that before where
For sure.
they'll cover it or do something, infuse it, somehow smoke it. Yeah, it's like a good taste. It is a good taste.
Yeah, right.
All right. Do you use oranges? I can never remember the name of the cherry. Tuxedo,
Maraschino,
No, a Luxardo. You ever hear of a
Ooh.
Luxardo cherry? That's a right.
Sounds fancy.
Yeah,
I don't know. No.
Yeah. That's what you got to put in there. That's
Yeah.
Luxardo.
Done right.
Luxardo.
Done by the book is how you have to do it.
Yes. Okay.
What'd you really come here to talk about?
Well,
That's my breakfast drink.
I'm curious to know what your thoughts are with the mission to Mars, because it's big. We have a new administration now. Boom. And new people in place. We have Musk in charge of the space program. What is this?
Not really. He's in Doge. Doge is the
Right.
government efficiency where they're cutting waste out of government programs.
Are we going to let him tap into the space industry though? Because there's the military. You have the Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Army.
There's
and
a
you have
Space
the Coast
Force.
Guard. There is a Space Force.
Yes.
So is the Space Force is really designed for what? Space travel, space exploration.
Well, because our enemies are a little more sophisticated than they once were, they can launch satellites. They can launch weaponry into orbit because it's really easy to get things into orbit now.
Okay.
And so the Space Force is sort of a security level
Kinda
that
guarding that.
keeps us tracking what's above us and what it's doing.
It's doing a
and
real good job on all those weather balloons we see out there.
Don't even get
Freaking all over the
started
place.
on the weather balloons.
I mean, what do you think the percentage of are weather balloons versus spy balloons?
I think the most mostly spy balloons, the ones that are flying over there, the ones that are unidentified.
Yeah, and I don't think they make the news as much as they should probably. I know about 6 months ago that one was traveling. They were really marking it and watching it. But I think that it's happening all the time.
Oh, for sure. And we're doing it too. There's
Okay.
We're probably more than weather balloons, because if you wanted to be under the radar, right, you do something smaller that had sensors that could pick up the same thing, but harder to see and show up on a radar image. I think China played it well because they made it so outrageous that everybody was like,
Can't be real.
They wouldn't put a blimp up there to do it. They would.
It's kind of like hiding in plain sight.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So mission to Mars. I was listening to the news the other day, and Trump was talking about it was either Trump or Musk. 2026, go to Mars, get some samples, come back. $11 billion. I can't even comprehend why it would cost that much. I know. I mean, is fuel that much nowadays to fill up? And $11 billion seems a lot. China wants to do it by 2028. I don't know if we're trying to beat them. It's almost like the space race back in the, was it 70s, 80s?
Yeah.
Right?
With Apollo missions.
With the Apollo missions, and that was against Russia?
Yep.
So to speak, against, if you will. So China wants to do 2028. Our U.S. NASA says they can't go till 2030, which to me seems like crazy. Like, figure that out sooner.
Well, here's the timeline and what makes sense. So first off, like the difference between private exploration and Elon Musk going to Mars, where it's funded completely by his Starlink satellite. So he launched a constellation of internet. Everybody uses the service pays a monthly fee.
Okay.
Uses that money to finance him going to Mars and the Starship going to Mars. So that's separate from what the government will do. And the government has a different project, the Artemis project. And so...
Okay, the Artemis is government.
Yes.
Give me Musk's.
Musk's is the Starship.
What's SpaceX?
SpaceX is a private company, not a government thing.
But is that Musk?
That's Musk.
Okay.
SpaceX is Musk and
Artemis,
the government, NASA, Artemis.
Separate entities.
Right. Now, they work together on some stuff because obviously Elon's a little ahead, and he's probably sharing some of his resources in and vice versa.
He brought those people back.
For sure. NASA was dead. NASA was freaking dead.
Right. He brought them back.
All right. So the Artemis mission is... Okay, so the way that this works is it's extremely expensive to sort of like get beyond Earth's atmosphere.
Okay.
It's real heavy, really expensive. So once you've conquered the gravity in the atmosphere and you're outside of it, now it becomes really inexpensive to travel. And so the thought is that once we get things outside of Earth's atmosphere, that we start building infrastructure on the moon, is not real expensive to launch.
Yeah.
So if we could put our launching pads on the moon, we save our
go from. Okay.
Right.
I feel like going to the moon is like going to Giant Eagle.
For sure.
We could do it.
Yeah,
Pretty
absolutely.
easy.
It's right there. Like I see it every night.
Right. Okay. So make that home base.
Exactly.
If you will. Okay.
So now if we launch fuel to get us out in the atmosphere, and then we have to refuel before we actually make the mission to Mars, then it would make sense to just get operations like to the moon and do all of your launches from that. So that's why the Artemis project's going to come in and be pretty important when we make lots of trips to Mars. We don't want to have to expense the fuel to get out of Earth's atmosphere over and over again. We just want to be like, okay, we'll payload some stuff and then shoot them up.
They're going to put like a gas station on the moon.
Yeah,
like a quick fill.
Well, the whole thing, like they're going to send payload there so they can do their own fuel, their own personnel, their own building there. And then they never really have to ferry just the people who are leaving. Let's just say we have a population of 1,000 people on the moon.
Okay.
And they're running the moon base and they're, creating the infrastructure, manufacturing the fuel, getting the one next. When they're ready for a launch, they just put the rocket up and put the next group of people on there. We don't have to interface with the Earth at all until we need a refueling mission.
Cut them out.
But if we're doing, so let's just say the window of opportunity to go to Mars opens up. So we've got a little window, and then we just launch like 50 starships.
Okay.
All at one time, heading to Mars to
hoping
start.
some make it, or thinking all
of them are. By that point, they're all going to.
Okay.
These early ones where we're going to, so the next step is we shoot a starship up. We shoot 2 starships up. One of them has people on it and has the actual capsule.
Okay.
And the other one has more fuel. So they both launch. Okay. And then they connect, they go in space and start space humping.
Boom.
And they transfer fuel up to the other one. And then the people one
shoots off
in
the other one
into Mars. Right?
Is there a point where once we get out of our atmosphere, and I'm sure there is, I just don't know it. You say like the right time to go to. Is there a centrifugal force that will pull it quicker than fuel is needed? Like
they definitely use the gravity.
Like you're like, what's it called? Drifting when you're a race car driver.
Slingshotting.
Yeah. So can we slingshot?
Yeah.
With
they used it in all the Apollo missions. Pretty much every mission they have, if they can take advantage of the gravitational pull of a body, they'll whip around it and pick up
like the
momentum.
Airplane driving or flying. You fly out 2.5 hours, but sometimes coming home it's 2 hours and 10 minutes because they caught a tailwind.
Yep, exactly.
So that is up.
So they'll make use of it. If it's there, they'll make use of it.
How long from the moon to Mars trip?
It's about 7 months.
Still 7 months.
Yeah, it's not that much. I mean. 500,000 miles away, it seems like a long distance, but in the scheme of things, I mean, it's a 3-day trip to the moon. So you have minus, depending on when you leave the moon, it's minus 3 days on a 7-month trip.
That is so far compared to the moon.
It feels like it.
7
That's a
months.
really long distance.
Wow. All right. So I was just curious if you got excited about hearing that. Well, do you think Musk will just keep his entity separate, or do you think he'll commingle with NASA? They're already commingling, you said.
Yeah, they're going to share when they can, but he'll keep it as his own thing because he can do whatever he wants to do. He's self-funded, isn't dependent on taxpayer dollars, and that's the big criticism of NASA was the money they spent and the utility of the findings of the money that they were spending. It was cool for a president to go against another president and be able to get there first, like what happened with Russia politically.
Right.
But then when the tax payment comes due, and you're like, what did I get for this, $1 trillion of NASA spending? We got Velcro and maybe some Tang and whatever, and then you start thinking. But if it's all privately done and it's funded internally, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Is he the only one that's doing it? Is Bezos doing it?
Bezos is doing Blue Origin.
Is he at the level of Musk?
Getting there.
Okay.
And if they work together, if they end up being, if there's conflict of personalities or whatever, then they're all going to be reinventing the same wheel.
Right.
Over and over again. If they work together on it and they share designs.
Maybe.
Absolutely.
Okay. We know you're a Musk fan. Mm-hmm. Are you a Bezos fan? Is he
cool?
I
have an
appreciation.
I have an appreciation for people that put their money into innovations. I really do. And so
he's done that.
For sure.
Okay.
There's no financial gain in doing this at this point. It's all speculative. It's all like
exploratory research. Just to,
right.
They're not going to make money off it. Right. Huh. Okay. And you're signed up to go at some point?
The form still is grayed out. Like I haven't been able to mash on the I want to go button yet.
Okay. All right.
But honestly, if you were to go back in time and, Thomas Edison or Nikola Tesla, right? Mm-hmm. And they were alive at their time, mm-hmm. like you would be a fan of them too. And they took barbs from the public because they didn't understand them and they were operating at a high level. And so they were probably criticized as being the crazy people of their time. But think we get to be alive alongside people who are doing big things. Yeah.
And down the road, some kids will be learning about Musk and these people. And because, to me, Musk is kind of like the modern day Einstein. For sure. With regards 100%. To how his mind works. And
he takes a lot of criticism. People do not like him. And when they...
Yeah, what do you think? Let's talk about that. I mean, is it jealousy? Is it the unknown? What do you think? I mean,
so
why don't they like him?
This is sort of... I can see myself a little bit in Elon Musk.
Okay.
When you
he eats sugar, though, I think.
Yeah, lots of it. He doesn't give two shits about criticism. He does not formulate plans based on how popular those plans will be. So he's very misunderstood because the things he doesn't make sense. So it's very easy to take somebody and try to destroy them, just like they did with Edison, just like they did with Ford, just like it did with Einstein. When you're doing something off into the ether a little bit, right? You almost invite people to think you're stupid and crazy.
Well, that's like creativity in the office place. I mean, just think about the workplace and anyone who has a new idea or something different they want to try, people kind of scoff at it because it's not normal. Sure. It's not the norm. I just did a seminar for a client yesterday and we talked about change a lot. And again, change is uncomfortable, change is weird, but I'm a firm believer that change promotes opportunity. But the thing is, it's up to us to figure out what those opportunities are.
Yeah, and you got to sell it.
Yeah.
You got to sell it.
And you got to find the benefits of the change. So, the old phrase, if it ain't broke,
don't fix it.
I agree with that. But I think most of the things that aren't broke necessarily but can be made better, people will buy into it if they know what that better is. I think if people know there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, they're more susceptible to buy into change. And that's one of the things I tell people with regards to if you're a manager, a supervisor, a parent changing your kid's curfew. If you initiate a change, the 2 rules are this, very simple. Rule number 1, you initiate a change, you tell people why. Benefit, benefit, benefit. This is something called Brian's broccoli theory. I don't know if I ever shared that with you. Years ago, I created this theory. It's an old school theory. I just gave it a fun name. Brian's broccoli theory says this. When you communicate with people, you should always give them the positive end result. For example, we manipulate and talk more negatively when we realize it, and I blame my parents, your parents, our great-grandparents. It's easy to say, if you don't eat your broccoli, you're not getting dessert. If you don't clean your room, you're not going. What we need to do is retrain our brains, shift our mindset, and say, when you eat your broccoli, you will have dessert. When you clean your room, you can go. Last thing that person heard you say was what? Go. What do I have to do? Clean the room. So is it 100%? No, nothing in life is. But I feel if you communicate with people by giving them the positive, when you eat your broccoli, you will have dessert. Guess what they start thinking about?
Dessert.
Which is the positive end result. Now, they know if they don't eat that broccoli, they're not going to get that dessert, but you don't have to remind them that. And I think too often we do that.
Okay, so this is a great topic for discussion. So let's talk about the douchebaggery of human beings.
Douchebaggery.
Because there are
a lot of douchebags out there.
Big time.
Yeah.
And so the problem isn't necessarily the example you gave where there's an outcome that you want, so you're willing to put in the work. It's when you have sort of like something that's shared amongst all people. So, for instance, let's just say we have a budget deficit, right?
We do?
And we have to cut something, which means whatever we cut or whatever we add is going to make somebody's day harder and somebody's day easier. So, for instance, we have a $37 trillion deficit in the United States.
Okay.
And so, we got to, cut some spending. But who? And we got to raise some taxes. But who? So if we were like, okay, all of us, let's just all give more in taxes and we'll bring down that deficit versus saying, me, I know how to solve this problem, but I'm not going to have to make any sacrifice. 0 taxes increase for me.
Okay.
But that guy over there,
jack him up. Because he made so much.
Exactly. Or when a school, hey, we're having a budget shortfall and we're going to look at our books and see where we're hemorrhaging money, we're spending too much. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut busing, right? I'm not going to cut the 93,000 other thing. I'm going to do the thing that's going to piss off parents and put pressure to end whatever we're doing by taking the thing that will piss you off the most. Me, unchanged.
Right. Not
inconvenienced. No more cost to me. But that guy over there, he's getting effed. Douchebaggery.
Wow. How do you control that? I mean,
have better people
the mindset of the individual needs to be a little
bit because all of the sort of the philosophical, the idealistic solutions that you have only work in the vacuum, and we're not in a vacuum. So the first step is having words and definitions that we all understand, principles that we believe in, and then target and goals that we can all agree to. We don't have any of those things.
No, and it's tough to get all that in unison, because, again, everyone's entitled to their own thought or opinion.
But that's why people like Elon Musk are hated, because they're put in a different group, and so they become more of a problem than they are someone who's trying to solve a problem.
And he's not even, I don't feel, he wants to make money, obviously, doing his thing, but a lot of the things he is doing, like you said, aren't going to make him money. It's just going to make the world, I don't even know if it's better, but understand things more, right? Like you said, going to Mars, he's not going to make money going to Mars.
He's not.
He's going to lose money.
He's going to lose a shit ton of money.
Yeah, even if one day they can send people to Mars to live and he can charge them $1 billion a piece, I don't think he'll be around for that necessarily to enjoy and reap those benefits of that financial gain. So I kind of admire that he's just doing it to do it. I think a lot of people, most of us, listen, we work, we have a job because we want to earn money, right? I don't care how much you like your job. I love my job. My job, you know me, I love what I do, but it's not even like work. I'm just having conversations with people. I'm talking nonstop. But obviously at the end of the day, I need a paycheck. You know what I mean? So, I mean, what if I won $5 billion in the lottery? Would I continue to be a professional speaker? I probably would, just because it'd give me something to do, but I wouldn't have as much stress. You know, I wouldn't have as much, you know, I think Chris Rock was the best when he said, money doesn't buy happiness. He goes, but money does buy a jet ski. And I've never seen someone on a jet ski not happy.
That's right.
So,
but how long would you do your thing at personal cost without making any money? How long would that be? So if you launch rockets and lost money for 6 consecutive years, on year 7, are you just as ambitious, just as exhilarated to do it again? That's not most people.
Correct.
Go and show up at your job for a month and not get a paycheck.
And just keep
do
doing
it for the love of what you do. That's not most people.
Right. It's not. What would your dream job be? Are you living it right now? Or is there something that you thought maybe I would go into this when you were younger and you didn't go into it for whatever reason? You have a great business right now, Youngstown Computer, Youngstown Studio, all kinds of entities here. But is there a dream job that you wish you had or that you still may want to, what's the word, dive into?
So I have a cause, and like when I was first getting into business, I struggled huge. Like it was not a great experience when I first got started.
Both financially, personally, professionally, just mentally.
Huge amount of pressure
into this business right here that you're doing now.
For sure. Okay. Well, all business, like as an investor, as a technical person, somebody who's in technology, somebody who's into the cryptocurrencies and whatever, all of those things were tough to be able to get into. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, you have infinite amount of adversaries and very few allies. There aren't many people that are going to take somebody who's struggling and help them in a way that gets them to the next level. So I picture myself when I was struggling in those things. I'm thinking, when I get to the point where I'm good, I'm going to look backwards and try to find me 26 years ago, and I'm going to try to pick that person up in the same way that I wish somebody would have picked me up. Not in a charitable thing. Like it's not really a charitable exercise. It's like when somebody's at a low point, the math works out. You have the ability and the intention to do something, but there's just math that's working against you that's causing you not to be able to do that. So let's just say somebody wakes up one day, they hate their job and they want to go like revolutionize an industry.
Okay.
But they don't have any money, they don't have any skill to be able to do it. I want to be the guy that comes in there and says, "Hey, I got everything you need.
I'm going to back you up.
Boom.
Go do it."
Yep, exactly.
I like that. All right. So back to the dream job, is this...
That's it. Like if I can spend every day picking a person randomly out of, all of his existence, looking for the Joe 26 years ago, that's my dream job.
All right. Let's say there was a dream job that wasn't so much that realm, which I get, which I love, but I mean like a physical job, like it's something you had to actually go to yourself and do. Like... be a bartender, be a server, be a doctor, be a lawyer.
I don't have any of those things. Okay. I'm an engineer, problem solver, so I'm just looking for the next mathematical formula to solve.
So there's no specific thing that you... Okay.
I would be a terrible employee in any industry that you put me in because I follow the whims of my interest, and sometimes my interest is here. And if you're depending on me to stick in that for 6 months... you're effed. Like, I'm just not there for 6 months.
I saw an article the other day. I think it was like a meme or a joke, and some guy was being interviewed, and the question was, "What are you going to bring to the team?" And he said, "Probably snacks," which I thought was great. Right? What would you bring to the team? Snacks. All right. So Mars, we're good there.
All right, I got one for you.
Yeah, let me hear it.
So I spend a great deal of time thinking about things that irritate me.
Oh, that's probably 23 hours of the day for you.
Plus. And, probably the one that crops up the most is inconsiderate people.
Okay.
And we've spent a lot of time talking about inconsiderate people. Do you think... Douchebaggery. So do you think the normal, regular person cares whether or not they are an obstacle to another human being? So the guy that pulls out of you in traffic, do you think he's thinking, "Man, I slowed that guy down behind me. He's got somewhere to be. I pulled out in front of him, and now he's delayed because of me"? Do you think people even know?
I think there are a percentage of people, and it's a small percentage, who are just that. I think the larger percentage is they're just worried about themselves.
They don't care.
You're right. I'm just worried about getting
Oblivious.
to where I have to. Yes, I'm not intentionally cutting this person off and thinking, I cut you off. I'm cutting this person off thinking, I cut them off so I can get to where I have to go. So I think the majority, the higher percentage of people who do that and who are just inconsiderate, do it not purposely to make someone else's life worse, but to make theirs better. Bigger percentage. Maybe
so you're 90, in the
there's that 10% who's just an asshole and does it because
you're in the elevator.
Okay.
And you've got 5 minutes to get to a appointment.
Okay.
Right? The doors are closing.
Okay.
And you see the guy saying,
right.
Wait. You got somewhere to be, but you're like, if you stop that door from closing, that guy his life might be better, but you're going to be delayed by 39, 40, 50 seconds, and he might fart while he's in the elevator.
Yeah, I think that's a great, what's the example, I guess? I would personally...
You holding it?
Yeah, I'm holding it.
You holding it?
I'm holding it.
And when you hit the little button that has the doors going this way, everybody in the elevator groans. Because they're picturing that guy and then the next guy and then the next guy.
14th floor and they're
You effed them. Like they were on their way. They were 1.5 seconds.
And you saved them.
And you saved that guy.
Yeah, so you made one happy and 4 mad.
Right.
Or you're going to make 1 mad and 4 happy. I know. It's like a no-win situation. I always taught my kids this too. Just do the right thing. I believe in karma. I do. I believe what goes around comes around.
But what's the right thing when it's negligible, when it's hard to weigh whether or not the people in the elevator are more important than the guy who's running towards the elevator?
Well, that's a good point. I don't know who gets the win there.
It's gray area.
It's very gray area. I would say if you're doing it with good intent, even if these 4 people get pissed, you didn't intentionally try to piss them off.
Yeah.
Now, if you were saying, I'm going to push this to fuck you guys over, that's bad. So
if you go in the buttons and like hit them all like they did
in Elf.
Yes, in Elf. Yeah. That would be a dick move.
That would be a dick move. But I think
and as the guy's running in the elevator, if you're waving at him as you're not pushing the button, that's a dick move.
Right. I think if your intent is to screw someone over purposely, it's a dick move. I think if your intent is to help someone while someone else gets screwed over, but your intent wasn't to screw these people over, you're okay. That make sense?
Mm. So it's gray area. Like these are tough questions because no matter what,
but can still falter and hurt someone else.
Right.
Even though you're
depending on who you're looking at, who's more important, the people that are there with you or the person that needs to make
it's like letting
entry.
This guy come across the traffic and the guy behind you's mad, and then all of a sudden the guy behind you gets hit by a car and he's thinking, I wouldn't have been hit if you wouldn't have let that guy. I would have been able to go.
Yeah,
but my intention was for not you to get hit. I'm sorry it happened, but my intention was not to make you have a worse life. So even though shit happened, I didn't go into it intentionally, so I'm okay. I'm gonna feel bad.
And that's why
people
people are more oblivious because there's an advantage of like just not making eye contact and just doing your thing because you shield yourself from the pressures of a decision that no matter what you pick is a bad decision.
For someone.
For sure. For someone,
well, we've talked about waving, right? Driving down the... I told you my kids and I during COVID did that. We kept a logbook of people who waved when you let them go in front and people who didn't. And it was like 50-50, which I didn't like. I wanted to be 90-10. I wanted to be... And then, again, I think we talked about this. Why didn't they wave? Well, again, maybe they were just at Kohl's because a family member passed away and they were getting clothes to wear for the funeral, and that's what they're thinking about. They're not intentionally not waving because they're like, I'm not going to thank this person. So I started to back off because I would get like, why didn't they wave? Why didn't they wave? They should wave. It's the right thing to do. It's the courteous thing to do. And then I realized, well, maybe they have other stuff going on. If I'm letting them go just for the wave, it's the wrong reason, even though I want the wave. Does that make sense? I'm letting them go in front of me because it's the right thing to do. I'm in the plaza. They're walking out of Kohl's. I'm in a car. They're walking with bags. It's cold. I still feel a little wave.
But dude, I'm like behind you late, and you're just taking your time, letting the wrong thing happen. So in your mind, it's the right thing, and in my mind, I'm cursing the crap out of you.
It's very gray. Yeah, it's a gray area. But I think on a larger scale, when you get back to the original thing you said, why are people inconsiderate? I think when people have just a shitty or are dealt a shitty hand and they're just in a funk that they can't get out of. Not only are they miserable, but they tend to make everything around them miserable. It's the old philosophy, one bad apple can
ruin a bunch.
Right. So I talk about that in my seminars, and I do a lot in healthcare, as you know, and I'll talk to nurses and administrators and physical therapists and occupational therapists and speech therapists. I'll talk to kitchen, housekeeping, line staff. Any of the when I go into these buildings and do my motivational speech for my big client, Care Right, who is phenomenal. I love them. Anyway, I always say the old philosophy, one bad apple can spoil the bunch. But my argument to that, my challenge is, well, if one bad apple can spoil the bunch, which we know it can, why can't one sweet peach ripen the bushel? I mean, if we can let one or two jackasses suck the energy out of our building, out of our floor, out of our unit, out of our department, why can't we be the person who puts it back? Because just as easily as someone could suck the energy out of a room, someone else can put it back. You just got to decide every day.
I'll push against that.
Am I an apple or am I a peach?
So let's call Elon Musk the peach, someone who's doing something against his own best interest for the pushing the society forward. Mm-hmm. And he is dealt, is he the asshole? Is he the villain? Is he the hero?
He's going to get pushed back from people.
100%.
But at the same time, he's going to have people who appreciate him. It's just, who's louder?
But your perspective on the person that's the peach in that bunch might be 50 people that say that your peach is the spoiled apple.
Oh, that your positivity and all that stuff. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're trying to prop up an Elon Musk and say, look at what he's doing. And I'm here like, no, that's big a dick as the person they replaced.
Right. So I'm when I say my analogy, if you will, my metaphor, my philosophy, it's this. You can walk into the break room at work and you can bitch and moan and complain about everything going on and suck the energy right out of the room, right? Everyone's in there having their lunch. You come in, oh, this place sucks. I can't stand it. Or you can walk into the break room and choose not to spew all that negativity and talk about maybe something good that just went on. So that's what I mean versus apple and a peach. You could suck the energy out of a room, but you could also put it back. It just depends on your mindset and what you decide you want to focus on. So,
well, I'll throw some positivity, but I'm also putting fish in the microwave, and
someone's going to be upset about
somebody.
That smell. Yeah, don't put fish in the microwave, man. That is true. Sometimes I walk into a break room. It was yesterday's
dinner. You don't understand. That's leftovers.
I walk into a break room, and sometimes I'm like, what was in this microwave?
Yeah.
What died in this microwave?
Mm-hmm. Indian cuisine is probably the fish and Indian cuisine is the best. It's microwave
potent
fodder.
Okay, be a good person. Let's just, and again, everyone's definition of good is different, right?
Well,
I think I'm being a good person, and I come across as someone who's not being a good person.
The message in this, there isn't a person that's all villain and person that's all hero. Mm-hmm. There's that gray area of what we. If we're good human beings and we're not taking school busing and trying to shove it down someone's throat or raising someone's taxes who's not us, if we're across the board trying to be good to all people, then we have virtue and we have the actual hero. But so long that our heroes are also villains and our villains are also heroes, it's tough to be able to say who's the peach and who's the apple.
True. Because you could be an apple and a peach within 10 minutes.
That's exactly right.
And that's normal.
That's a tough area.
It is. And I'll say this, and I've said it before. I'm a professional speaker. I'm a motivational speaker. But there are days I want to throat punch people. Literally. And I think, why is that? And then I realize I'm a human being. You know what I mean? So even though if I'm a motivational speaker out there spewing positivity, I'm also a realist. I know there are things that, I'm not perfect at all. And there are days where I'm not as happy and cheerful as I am. I would say the majority of my days are happy, are cheerful. That's my personality. It's just the way I was born. I've been like that since I was a kid. And I've morphed it into a career, which I love. And the thing with me, you don't have to wave pom-poms in someone's face. I just say sometimes who you are within yourself is sometimes enough to motivate and influence others. You don't have to say, Joe, you're alive. Joe, be happy. Joe, you did it. It's sometimes if Joe sees me in a good mood, it can transpire the mood to someone else, right? If you see someone who's in a bad mood, it can kind of suck your energy out. But if you see someone who's in a good mood, not waving pom-poms, not shoving stuff in your face, it can influence you.
All right, so in politics right now, there's a bunch of cabinet positions that they're going in front of commissions, and they're basically.
Tell me about that. So who can they be not approved?
For sure.
But who's not approving them? Isn't the majority one-sided?
Republicans have the majority,
right?
For sure.
So chances are, if
most of them will probably get approved. Okay. All right. So in the future, though, we have AI, and we take Brian Blasko, and we basically know everything about you, everything you've done from the time that you were an infant.
You know about my Playboys at Lynn Park?
Totally.
Okay.
And I do my spreadsheet, and think about those people that go before Congress, and they take all of their proponents. They say all the good things that you've ever done, and like he's great, and his personality's awesome, and he talks with people well. And his opponents are like, I know you did this, and I know you did this,
dirt.
So when you're eyeballing something you did when you were 21 years old, and you're not proud of it, but it's just part of the package that became who you are. What happens when AI knows all of our dirt and all of our secrets and are judging us based on the sum of everything that became us? How lenient, like when we're not lenient with other people, how lenient do you want the AI to be with us? So if you cheated on a test or stole something from the store one time, or you lied to this person over there, and AI's like, oh, here's your score.
Check. Whereas the human side might take into consideration you did that because
or not know. It doesn't have the chance to go through the depths of everything.
And
AI
realize what the situation
will
was.
Go everywhere.
Yeah, AI is, I know you love it. It's good. It scares me a little bit.
I just know shit that I post on
depth.
X sometimes. I know, I'm like, when I posted this, 20 years in the future, AI is going to deliver this back to me and question what was in my head on that day that I was shit posting and trolling someone. And I'm going to have to remember like what state of mind I was in when I threw out the shit post.
Yeah. Are we doing stuff with AI with regards to the computers?
Yeah.
I mean, AI is computers, obviously, but
sure.
I mean within your
self-healing and making decisions. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Good or bad?
It's all good at this point. And
is it bad to lose the human side of it, though?
When we embark on this, it's cool to be able to talk about like the pros and cons. But once you're in it, like it's just, it's going to be all benefits.
Okay.
Like you wear a ring that does your blood pressure and your oxygen saturation and whatever, and then the AI looks at data that a human being won't look through, and then you look at a summary and says, hey, you have increased your chances of dying today by 7%. You can look at that data and say, okay, well, like the AI delivered me some information. Doesn't mean I'm going to die today.
Right.
But I'm
aware
bad,
of it now.
Not good. So that's the kind of stuff, like those suggestions that statistically put you in either a bigger advantage or a worse role.
I think most things are for the better. Like I said, it's a change, so it's uncomfortable. It's different. People don't know. But if they know the benefits of it.
Exactly.
When you eat your broccoli, you will have dessert. When you use AI, this good thing will happen.
Yeah, but it doesn't diminish. The same math exists on day one of this as now. We might get enamored with the benefits, but those early things, like taking all of history that you've ever had and not going in front of the commission and a person didn't realize that you did that, where AI doesn't really have a dog in the fight. It doesn't.
Right.
It's going to dig it up, and it's just data about
just
you.
Spewing it out.
Right. So if you don't like it, that was a decision you should have made 3 years ago when it was coming onto the scene, not now after it's on the scene.
Yeah. So to me, it's like anything, like a microwave when it was first invented, which I don't know when that was, but it was cool. But then they were like, well, the microwave's good, but it could be radiation or whatever.
Sure.
Or the microwave's good, but then people are cooking meth in the microwave. So that it's good, it has its benefits, but at the same time, people can use it for...
But it existed on day one, regardless if you realized it. There was enough smart people that told you AI was a dangerous thing because of how capable it was. Digital voting machines had the threat on day one. And if you didn't consider it on day one, it's by the time you start doing the thing, it's already too late. That was like day one conversation, not day or year 7 conversation.
Speaking of the digital voting thing, what do you think the best way to vote is? I mean, honestly, in this country, every 4 years we have a electoral college that, decides basically based on what everyone voted in their primaries and districts, and okay, these 11 people, these 18 people, these 27 people are going to make the final decision. Do you think what do you think is the best? Is it going in and checking off the box like some people still do? Is it mailing it in? Is it all computerized? Everyone gets a little pad, and it's just, I don't know what's...
All I know is what we do is shit.
Right. It's too
shit.
Different everywhere.
So in business, what we would do is we'd go to best practices, and we would say, okay, well, you have a bank. You don't want a person to be able to withdraw the same dollar that they've already withdrawn. So they solved this problem where if you had a person and they were able to come into the bank and withdraw money, How can you tell whether or not they withdrew that money already? How can you tell if somebody has voted already?
Okay.
They solve this problem already.
Right.
So you have a token that's unique to you that you can only use one time, and you only get one.
Okay.
And when you use that token, it's
done.
in the deal, and that's it. So if we use that, okay, so if you have a ballot, right? You go in a ballot and say, okay, you've done it. That's your token. You give it to you, and all you have to do is make sure that you don't have token number 2. So what is the barrier between you going to the next polling place and filling out another ballot? Well, you don't have another ballot because you have a one
Right.
token. If it's digital, the digital isn't like recording your vote or creating a database. It's just making sure that the token that was authorized to make a
Has
vote
been used already.
has expired.
Okay.
And you just don't get another one. So
I like that.
if we just solve the token problem, then we don't really have to worry. We can still use paper ballots if we want to. So what's the advantage of paper ballots?
I don't know.
Okay, so let's just say I have a stack of papers here that you checked off and you had your signature on.
Okay.
And I have a database of things that you said yes to, and you put your digital signature on. This is sitting, how quickly can I alter this pile, right? This pile versus this pile. If I go into the data table and I write a
digital
little
pile
macro that's like change 10,000 of your things, I can do that in about 1 second.
Boom, one stroke of the
hit.
key.
So that's easy.
Okay.
If I take the 10,000 over here, like, what would I have to do to get 10,000 of these either changed or disappeared? I take them,
Right.
and I throw them in the dumpster. So elimination
Okay.
does the same thing as the,
As the one
data.
button click, yeah.
But if I had to alter them, it would take me
Right,
freaking forever.
right,
So
right.
the difficulty sometimes is a security measure because it takes longer to do fraud on one side than the other. But all of these elements are known. So if it's just like an engineer sits back and says, okay, we're not going to get it perfect, but we're going to make it as hard as possible to do the wrong thing and as easy as possible to do the right thing, then you solve the problem.
That's what I want.
Absolutely.
I really, truly want
Dumb people who are in charge of this, though. Not a person like me. Not a person like you.
Why don't we call Trump and get you on the administration? Somehow you could be the voting czar.
Because they'd put me in front of Congress, they'd pull up everything that I've done wrong, and I'd be squashed in 22 seconds.
You had Zippo lighters and cigarettes
and Playboys. So,
hidden
Mr.
in the
Danny,
woods.
tell me about the Playboys. What? I see you looked at page 67.
Right.
Did you like 67? What about 67?
Guilty.
I'm out.
Peace.